But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. Let me tell you about my great God.
Hey guys, Pastor Tim here. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you're ready to get your day started off in God's Word. We are starting 2 Kings. So if I mess up, you hear me say 1 Kings or whatever, forgive me for that. But we're starting 2 Kings. We're in 2 Kings chapter 1. And we're still with Elijah here. Now remember, when we left off in 2 Kings, Ahab just died. Now it's his son, I'm going to mess this up a lot, Ahaziah. All right, Ahaziah, that guy. It's his son Ahaziah. It's his son Ahaziah is now the king. All right, and I'm sure there's an easier way to pronounce that. But his son is now the king, and he's no better than his father. And it's kind of interesting to note, if there's one thing I think we can get out of this chapter is, Ahaziah is not learning from his dad's past mistakes. He did not learn. He was a grown man at the time when his father passed away, so he fully understood why his father passed away, the prophecies that were laid out against him, the judgment that God allowed to come into his life, and the way that he died, and the prophecy being fulfilled where the dogs are licking up his blood even. So he's fully aware that the reason his father died was a judgment of God. Yet he did not choose to follow God. In fact, he still, like his father, chose to do that, which was evil. And even in this chapter itself, we see God send some more chastening into Ahaziah's life. He allows a rebellion of Moab to come up into his reign, and even that doesn't get his attention. And he allows an accident to befall him where he falls and he hurts himself. And even on what could possibly be his deathbed, even that doesn't bring his attention to God and repenting and following after the one true God, the same God that judged and punished his father Ahab before him. No, on his deathbed, he still chooses to follow his own flesh. He still chooses to follow his own idols, and he sends his messengers to go and inquire of a false god of whether or not he would survive this fall, this accident that he just had. And so his messengers go out and he sends them to inquire of the god of Baal-zebub. Man, all these names in this chapter. Baal-zebub and Ekron. And he says, go inquire of Baal-zebub whether or not I will survive this incident. All right, now he's sending his messengers to go unto a false god and see whether or not he would survive. Maybe he's stubborn just like Ahab, doesn't want to listen to God, so he's continuing to reject God. Elijah, however, is told by God, hey, meet these messengers halfway and tell them what I will tell the king. So Elijah, he meets the messengers halfway. He says, hey, this is kind of strange, guys. I mean, is there not a God in Israel for you guys to inquire of? Why that you have to go to Ekron and inquire of Baal-zebub? And he's being sarcastic here because obviously there is a God in Israel that they can inquire of. Ahaziah is just refusing to do so. He says, turn back, go back unto your king and tell him that the Lord said, because you are seeking after false gods and not seeking after me, you will surely die on your bed that you're upon. And they're like, okay. So they turn around, they go. Elijah departs from them and he goes to sit on a hill. We'll find out about that in a little second here. But they go back to Ahaziah and they tell him this. He's like, why are you back so early? And he's like, well, we met a man and he said that the Lord said, because you're not inquiring of him, but inquiring of Baal-zebub, this false god, that you will now surely die upon the bed you're on. And he says, what kind of man was this? And the man they describe, and I think this is the first physical description we get of Elijah. And so the man they describe is like, well, he was a hairy guy and he was wearing a leather girdle. He wasn't he's just a very wilderness type man. And he knew immediately, oh, this is Elijah. This is the same man that caused my father all these problems, and now he's causing problems for me as well. And so he gets angry at this, and he sends a company of 50 men and a captain to go unto Elijah and to pretty much bring him to him and kill him. All right? And so these first band of 50 men, they go to Elijah, they find him sitting upon a hill, and they say, thou man of God, come down and we'll take you to the king. And he says, well, if I'm a man of God, then God send down fire and consume you all. And that's what happens. God sends down fire from heaven and it consumes and destroys all 50 of those guys and their captain. Well, Ahaziah is a very stubborn dude, so he sends another 50 guys and they do the same thing. They say, hey, thou man of God, come down quickly and we'll take you to the king. And he says, if I'm a man of God, let God send fire down to consume you all. And once again, that's exactly what happens. And then finally, we get a third company of 50 men. A third captain is assigned by Ahaziah to go unto Elijah and bring him to him. And this guy is like, all right, I'm not gonna do the same thing. So he goes up and he falls on his knees and he pretty much begs for his life in front of Elijah. He's like, hey, I know what you just did to these first 50 guys and the 50 guys after that. Please let our lives be precious in your sight. Have mercy upon us. And God tells him, hey, go with him. You don't have to fear for your life. This guy's not going to cause you any problems because he's already shown his power unto these men already. So Elijah gets down. He goes to King Ahaziah, and he tells him what he's been telling the other messengers all along. He said, hey, because you chose wickedness, because you chose to serve false gods instead of Jehovah God, you will die upon your bed. You will never leave this bed ever again. And that's exactly what happens. Ahaziah dies in his bed. So that's it for this chapter pretty much. A lot of, it's kind of short, but a lot of interesting things happen. And, you know, Elijah's just calling fire down from everywhere, apparently. But it just shows, as I alluded to in the beginning, all right, Ahaziah, he was ignoring the judgments of the past, what happened with his father. He was ignoring God's chastening in his own life with the Moab rebellion and with his own accident. And much like his father, he was choosing to reject God and to follow his own flesh and to follow false idols instead. And this ended up costing him a short reign as king and also cost him his life as well. Hope you guys have a great day. Tell somebody what it is you got out of God's word today. This is an interesting chapter, all right? Interesting things happen. Elijah's just calling fire down upon men all willy-nilly. Now, that obviously was a work of God, not Elijah himself, but interesting things are happening. Tell somebody about it. Write it down in your journal. Tell your accountability partner. Let somebody know about your great God today. Stay safe. Stay healthy. God bless.